Hello, everyone. Welcome to Indigineering, a limited series we are trying out focusing on pop culture, highlighting Indigenous artists. CSUN's American Indian Studies Program and American Indian Student Association recognizes and acknowledges the Sisevitam, the first people of this ancestral and unceded territory of Sesavenga that is now occupied by our institution. And it honors their elders, past and present, and the Sisevitam descendants who are citizens of the Fernandinho Tataviam Band of Mission Indians. AIS recognizes the Sisevitam are still here and recognize our neighbors, the Chumash and Tongva. I am your host, Roman Zaragoza, an alumnus of CSUN and proud member of CSUN's American Indian Student Association, and I am currently in Montreal on unceded and the ancestral lands of the Kanien'kehá:ka, the Mohawk. And on today's episode of Indigineering, we have the amazing Karissa Valencia with us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Oh,
I'm
it's
so
so
happy
good.
to be
It's
here.
so good to see you. And
Excited.
before we dive into anything,
Yeah.
I just wanted to give you the floor to see for you to introduce yourself.
Again, just super excited to be here and chat with you all and hang out with Ramon. I'm always excited for that. But yes, my name is Karissa Valencia. I am the creator and showrunner of Spirit Rangers, which is an upcoming series at Netflix animation. And my family is also Shumash.
Amazing, amazing. I'm so excited for us to have this conversation just selfishly because
Yes.
this is so cool. I'm such a huge fan of yours and this show. I'm just like literally twiddling my thumbs waiting for it to come out because I'm just, there's so many things. I'm so
Yes, so
excited.
many things.
Um, well, yeah, why don't we just dive right in? I'm curious to know more about your early engagement with storytelling and through animation, and what has influenced or inspired you to get into this field.
Yeah, I feel like I have just always been a big old nerd for animation and like fantasy and supernatural stuff. And I just really, really love it. I unfortunately can't draw. So the other route that I went as a storyteller is through writing. So a lot of the early films that really inspired me were like Miyazaki films. Like they are just super weird and trippy, and you could do anything and be anything. And I just love the big worlds that he created with those movies. And I grew up in the 90s. So, like, of course, I'm a big Disney kid as well. Um, and I think, like, what really drew me to animation a lot is that you can do and be anything. And I just never really saw myself on screen. And when I did, it was like always in the past tense or just like not told from a really authentic perspective. And in animation, you could be anything, even Native American, because we had Pocahontas and like that, even though like I'm not from her region, it meant a lot to me to see her in a space where she was the lead and she was a hero, and just like, the star of the show, I guess, like we were following her journey. So that was really inspiring to me. And yeah, I just love cartoons. They're so fun.
Oh, I'm such a cartoon kid. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I grew up on all the Disney stuff and Miyazaki films.
Classic.
Yes. Oh my goodness. My family
So
we
good.
were a Totoro family for sure.
uh
Yeah.
yeah, Totoro is the best. We were a Spirited Away family.
Oh, for
Love
sure.
that movie. Love that movie. I need to go to the museum still. That's out. I
What?
need
There's a
to go check it
museum?
out.
Where's?
Yes, the Academy Museum. It's like, the big Oscar museum.
Hmm.
But anyways, they
Hmm.
have a whole floor dedicated to Miyazaki. And
No.
apparently it's just
Wow.
like amazing. They did such a good job. So I really
That's
need to go check it out.
that's really cool to hear that
Yeah.
they have that too. Because I feel like sometimes it could be like, foreign films or over there, right? We don't need to have that. We're, over here. And so that's really cool. That's awesome. And
Yeah,
and
I agree.
and the way that you're talking about animation is so true. Of like you can think of the craziest, most wildest things, and you can make it come true. And you don't have to do any practical effects on set or something. Like we just literally making it. And I think I'm curious as a writer, that must be really fun because there's no anything holding you back, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the best part. It is so freeing, and like I just love being able to push different story types and genres and mixing them, and just I just think it's so so fun. And I especially really love like the kids and family space in general. Like
Mm.
I never really saw myself landing in the preschool space where I am now and where like most of my career has been.
Yeah.
Um just because I just didn't know a lot
Mhm.
about it. Like I thought it was going to be like really young and really educational, and like those shows do exist and they're great for all the right reasons.
Mhm.
But then when I met Chris Nee, who created Doc McStuffins and Vampirina, I saw another side of how preschool storytelling can be told. And
Mm.
she was telling stories about like kids who had cancer, or like kids who were like afraid of the dark, or just like all these like emotions that we still have as adults. And I just like fell in love with this preschool audience. They are so freaking cute and so smart, and
Mhm.
the writing, I feel like the younger you go, the harder the writing is, and like the humor is a little different, their
Mhm.
interests are a little different, and it's just,
Mhm.
yeah, it's I like this twisted feeling of like because it's a lot of responsibility to be
Oh
some of
yeah.
these kids like first introduction into media, just the first
Mhm.
time seeing stuff on screen. And what an opportunity it is that, Netflix has given us too for Spirit Rangers to be that intro for a lot of these kids.
That's so true. It's so exciting. Like I'm thinking about the shows that I watched as a kid. Like I watched Dragon Tales. You know
Uh-huh.
that show? And like
Classic.
that show had such an impact on my life. I'm like literally thinking
Yeah.
like, there's so many themes that like really can stick with you. I think that it's just so cool. I'm so excited for this show. I'm excited for my
Yeah.
cousin to see this show. Like
Woohoo.
the little cousins that I have, little brown cousins to be able to see themselves like on a screen at such a young age. Like, come on, that's so
I
cool.
know. I never had anything. We never had anything like that. It's like
Never.
it's crazy. I'm so excited. Just when I
Yeah.
remember when the designs for Spirit Rangers first came in, like just the
Mhm.
family, and I was emotional just because they were wearing pants and shoes. I'm like, wow, there they are, just existing in
Yeah.
today's
Yeah.
world, but also they love their native side and
Mhm.
believe in native magic, but they also
Mhm.
like use drones and walkie-talkies and stuff
Exactly.
wearing
Hey,
pants.
we're in the 21st century, right? You know what I mean? Like, come on, y'all.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
cool. Okay, that's so exciting. How's your experience in the industry shaped or changed your approach to Spirit Rangers? And then how do you think that experience with Spirit Rangers can help shape the industry? If that makes
Mm,
like the two-sided
yes,
there.
yes. That's a good question. I see what you did there. Um, I guess like something I am really proud of with Spirit Rangers is, I mean, there's so many things, but I think
Mhm.
I've brought in a lot of new talent. Like there's a lot of first-time staff writers, first-time VO actors, first-time composers, and everybody is just killing it. They're doing so well. Netflix is really happy. And I think like
Yes.
taking that risk, I am hoping it'll show that other shows, other creators, other writers can give themselves permission to be risk takers and do
Mm.
that kind of stuff and give new people their shot. And because this a lot of this series is like a lot of new folk, including myself. I'm a first time showrunner. Like
Woo.
it feels really yeah. It's like it's really nice that Netflix is a place where I feel supported and can be, and can take these kind of jumps and leaps. So I'm just really happy about that. And I'm hoping like oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. What was the other question? The first question.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like, how has the industry shaped your approach to Spirit Rangers?
Um,
Like your
ah,
experience. Hmm.
yeah, in my experience, well, I feel really lucky to have like come up under Chris Nee because she is somebody who is always really daring and always challenging the norm and pushes like studios to think a little bit more outside of the box and
Hmm.
always focus on the character versus like,
Hmm.
is that going to sell a bunch of toys? I don't know. I think the kids will always just like love the characters, and like then the toy stuff will come after. Like I
Mm.
think sticking with character is something that I really admired from her storytelling sensibility. So I think coming up through her, that's what I really brought to Spirit Rangers. I really wanted kids to fall in love with our characters and see themselves in them, whether you're native or whether you're not native. This is just
Mm-hmm.
like an awesome superhero show that I'm hoping kids will just have a fun time like watching these kids go on adventures, but also seeing like native culture in a magical way. Like,
Hmm.
yeah.
Totally. Oh my gosh. I'm literally getting chills because I'm like getting so excited. Like I'm gonna be watching it all. I'm gonna be watching all the time.
Woohoo! Yes,
I'm so pumped. Um,
yes.
and and it's so exciting to hear about all the writers that you've brought
Yeah,
in and like all the talent across the board. Like it's
yeah.
so many native artists working on this project, and it's from you. You know, you're the showrunner. You created this. Like
Ooh,
it's so
that's
cool,
crazy.
right? Isn't that so cool? Oh
It's
man,
crazy.
it's a good time. You know, just seeing like how many native showrunners there are right now. Of course, you know there should be more, but like there's
Hmm.
a good amount right now, which I'm so excited about. Reservation Dogs, Rutherford Falls, and
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it's a step in the right direction, and I'm just grateful for all your work that you do because it's amazing. So yeah.
Uh, thank you. I mean, you're a piece of this, Roman. You're out here fighting the
Hey,
good fight.
hey,
It's
yeah,
it's amazing.
one day at a time, right? um, speaking of one day at a time, the pandemic has been you
Yeah,
know, crazy, and you've made this project pretty much during the whole pandemic.
the whole pandemic.
Can you talk about your creative process through that? Like, how did you do that? That's my question.
Oh my gosh, it was a learning curve for sure. You know, it's hard to, write cartoons and be funny when the world is on fire and everything
Hmm.
is like, crumbling around you. But luckily, I feel that this project deserves a space on a TV screen. And I just
Hmm.
am like, it is what motivated me to keep writing through all of that. And my team
Wow.
too, like they just felt really connected to the stories and the series and the episodes we wanted to tell. So they were able to channel all of this, energy into these scripts. And like, even though the pandemic is terrible for so many reasons and it was a really tough year for everybody,
Mhm.
I have to say, it has opened up the world for us to Spirit Rangers. Like when I was looking to staff writers, I was meeting with writers who were all over the country. I
Mm.
honestly think like if we were in the before times, I don't even know if I would have taken that meeting because I would have just
Yeah,
meeting with local people who could come into the office. But like
totally.
one of my writers is from Alaska and she is in Alaska and we had her in the room every day and she's fantastic. So I just am like, I think it kind of opened up our ability to just greater connect and like
Hmm.
my cast is from all over the country too, like they're all over
Hmm.
the place. So it's been really cool to still be together even in this virtual space. And it's also provided more opportunities for these writers and composers and choreographers even like to come in
Hmm.
and they don't have to be in LA because it's expensive to move out here. This industry is like,
Yeah.
I had a professor in grad school tell me that when I first was moving out here, he was like, this is an industry where it's like mainly for middle class and up because it's just so impossible to make it if
Yeah.
you don't have that
Hmm.
kind of support. And I just, yeah, so I feel for like these artists who are craving to join but they can't move or they it's just too, yeah, they
Hmm.
just don't have the resources. So I was really happy that we've moved virtually so we could do that and I could meet more people and get
Mm.
more awesome perspectives on the show.
It's like redefining inclusion because
Yes.
you're including people from all over the country, especially when you talk about native people. Like we want to reach communities that aren't just New York, Los Angeles, and
Yeah.
that's so exciting to hear. That's so
Yeah.
cool. And it, you know, it is true. The pandemic was and still is a difficult time, but
Hmm.
there have been some silver linings, especially with creative processes like this, where you can really include people, you know, from all over. So that's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
wow.
great.
Well,
Great big party, native party.
yes. Oh my gosh. And you know, I'm curious also of hearing some of the challenges you've had to face, you know, today and through your career as a native artist, because as we know, there's so many challenges that you know you have to face, and so I'm curious if you can kind of talk about that.
That's a very good question
Hmm.
because I feel like it's changed a lot. Like when I was first came to LA and was like trying to make it, I think people's attitudes towards natives were really different back then. I think I actually encountered just a lot of fear. Like, even though people really wanted to be inclusive and they're all about diversity, but then they hear a
Hmm.
native project and they're not scared because of like a negative thing. They just don't want to mess it up. So they'd rather not do it. They'd just
Mm.
rather not risk it. And things started to change and people started to just take risks and show like, there's a whole audience out here that wants to do this stuff. And
Yeah.
that's been really great to see the change. And I think like when I was also coming up, I would get people to ask me to read a script that some non-native had wrote and was ready to green light, and they're like, can you just read this and make sure it's okay from the native
Oh
perspective?
gosh. Oh
And it would be
gosh.
like a script about like totem poles or something, and I was like, that I'm not from Alaska, like I'm from California, like that's not my, but they wanted my sign off, and then would carry on. I'm like, I really think you should bring in someone from Alaska, and I'm like,
Mhm.
nope, if you think it's great, we're good. So I think like
Oh
starting to
gosh.
see us as like that we're so different. We are vastly,
Yeah.
vastly different from each
Mhm.
other. And I think like I'm hoping people will see just how different our regions and stories and upbringings are. And sadly, like all of us have some form of native trauma, and that's all really different from each other too. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I think the layers are changing.
For sure. Oh my gosh, hearing stories like that, it's yeah. I think everyone in the as native in the industry has like
Yeah,
stories like that, and you're like, really? Like, think about this. Would you ask a French person for like
I
questions about a Spanish project? Like, come on, y'all, come on, think a
yeah.
little bit. Like, uh, but yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
What a time. But
What
that's
a
like
time.
that's why I'm like super excited about the shows that are out right now. Like
Mhm.
Rutherford Falls and Sterling and mine are all
Mhm.
so different because we're all from different regions. Like we just
So
have
different.
different stories to tell. Like
Hmm.
I'm hoping that even just shows like, wow, these natives don't have the same ideas.
Right.
Nice.
Totally. Oh my gosh. I think, yeah, I was hearing like an interview with Sterling and they're talking about that of like, it's just so different and people can see like, you don't just have like one native show because
Yeah.
the stories are different. They're completely different stories. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited for, all the, what I think there's season twos for Reservation
Yes.
Dogs and for Rutherford Falls. So
I
like,
think so.
yeah.
So
So I'm
exciting.
just so excited. I'm just so excited. It's good. It's a good time. I keep
Yeah,
saying
it
that. Um,
is.
and we're talking about how your Spirit Ranger is going to have such an impact on this generation coming up, and so how do you feel your work, like how do you want your work to influence or impact others? I'm curious about that.
Uh, I mean, like, at the end of the day, I do just want to like tell good stories, and I
Hmm.
just want like that to be our main lighthouse that we're aiming for. But if I could just having this show exist is what just makes me happy. Like sometimes
Hmm.
I'll get in my head about not, I don't want to mess up and like I have to make sure everything's really perfect, but like I just always have to remind myself like these three shows are not going to be the only native shows. There's going to be many
Hmm.
more. It is okay. There's going to be others that'll come after us and do it better and just like yeah, so that alleviates a lot of my I have to be perfect with the show and like
Hmm.
get it all out there because I want to do all these things and say all this stuff. But for now, I just know when I was a kid, a lot of things that I watched on TV were so influential to me and I never forgot them. And
Hmm.
if I could be a small piece in someone's like first TV experience and just seeing native kids like being regular native kids and just
Hmm.
going on adventures and loving their culture, but also like still learning about their culture. And,
Hmm.
I think that would just like be the best. I just know like it's hard when you're trying to absorb your culture but also exist in this modern space, and being native is modern, but at the same time like it's hard to explain to people like, oh, like I can't hang out this weekend, I'm going to like a sweat lodge, and like they're like, what is that? And like is it something like I don't know, like I think if I can bring more visibility to that kind of stuff, that
Hmm.
would make me happy. And especially with Spirit Rangers, because it is about it's set in fictional California territory and showing off the Chumash. And I feel like the California native tribes haven't gotten a lot of TV
Hmm.
time. And I'm just really excited to show like some of this land in our stories. And that's where a lot of things are filmed here, but we often film stuff for like tribes in the plains or like in the Northeast. And I'm just really excited to show off California natives at the same time.
I totally, and I think that's such a bizarre thing to me of like Hollywood never acknowledging or talking about any of
Yeah.
these stories of California natives. Like there's so many tribes, there's so many different stories. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. And so, yeah, hats off to you because just so excited about this project and the impact it will have also like on the community of also Los
Yeah.
Angeles for people to kind of wake up and be like, oh, this is in your backyard. Like, oops,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, I'm really excited about that because, as I see, a lot of people in the industry have no idea
Hmm.
even about the land that they're on in Los Angeles. I'm like, come
Yeah.
on. And projects like this and it hopefully can really also start that conversation of what more they could be doing and for those execs, their kids are gonna be watching the show and it's gonna be
Yeah.
it's just it's so exciting. I'm so pumped and I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the the consultation and talking about working around the material with the Chumash and how you've approached that because as native storytelling we want to make sure we're doing things quote unquote right and respectfully and I was curious if you can just talk about that process and why that was important to you.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about this because I'm very proud of the steps that we've taken to get to where we are. So when I first pitched Spirit Rangers, I knew I wanted to bring the shoe mesh in because it is my own tribe. But after having lots of conversations in the writer's room, we decided to make our main characters and family a blended family. So half the family is Shumash and the other half is Cowlitz. And the reason why they're Cowlitz is because when I chatted with my writer's room, Joey Clift, who's one of our staff writers, stepped up and was like, I would love to ask my tribe for permission and see
Oh
what they
wow.
say, if they would give us their blessing. And he did. He had a big meeting with them. I did the same thing with my own tribe. And of course, both of these tribes were like wholeheartedly in. We're both from tiny, smaller tribes, and they were just excited to be invited in and asked. And so they did give us their blessing and that we can go to them with questions throughout the process, which has been amazing, and I'm so glad that it was a step that we took because, stuff like this is not in the production schedule. It's like Netflix wasn't thinking about it. It like but it's something we took the time as a room. Thankfully, my staff is all native and I had the space to talk about it with them and we decided this was a really important call. So now the family, if you'll like you can see with even the kids, they have different hair colors, different skin colors, different eye colors because like
Cool.
that's native doesn't look all one way, and that was something I
Mm-hmm.
think we were able to do because the family is blended. And then another thing that I am really, again, just I'm team Netflix all the way right now. It's just they've just been amazing. Another thing they let me do was pick my own cultural consultant, and even if I wanted one, because some show creators, they don't feel like they need one. They're like, my voice as a POC is a valid. I don't need another. I don't need other support. But I knew for Spirit Rangers, I wanted all the support I could get. But I was really fortunate to pick my own consultant. So we work with Jolie Proudfit, who is fantastic. She has brought so much to the show and lets us be creative, but also steps in to support us if we're telling a story that we don't have the resources for. So she'll
Mm.
find, a linguist or like an elder we can chat with. And it's only made the show that much stronger. Like I think people often get scared of working with consultants, but it has just changed the whole show, and I'm just so glad that she's on the team. And yeah, it's been a really cool process. I feel like I'm taking like a Native American history class like with Jolie every week. She teaches me something new. I learn about other tribes, and it really is like the American class of my dreams.
Amazing to hear that because we're hoping like to telling all these studios out there like, hey, this is the example, this is what you have to be doing for also other projects from other cultures. Like come on, like
Yeah.
let's talk about bringing that respect to other cultures, respect to even other
Hmm.
communities. Like if you're telling a project, telling a story about New Orleans, let's say, like you don't want to just, if you're no one's from New Orleans telling the project, like what's the point? Versus like having someone who knows the culture or knows this. And like, I think it's such an important thing, especially with Native stories. But I hope that also people see that like, this is, you can do this for other projects too. It brings more honesty and truth
Yeah.
and respect. And it's so
Yeah.
exciting to hear. And yeah, I'm so excited to hear that because it's important. And yeah, I'm just I have a couple more questions for you.
Hmm.
This is an interesting question because you're making work for this younger generation. What would you say to your younger aspirant self today?
Oof. Oh my gosh, trying to make me cry, Roman. My goodness, that's a good question. My younger creative self, I
Hmm.
guess like I think for a long time when I was like figuring out what my voice was as an artist, and like, we all do as artists for a long time, but when I was first getting started, I always kind of thought I had to hide my native side.
Mm,
Um, I didn't really dive into it a lot because I just didn't want to have the conversations a lot of the times with people being like, "Oh, you're native? Are you Cherokee? Or like, are you related to Pocahontas? Or like, let's see your dream catcher." And I'm just like,
yep.
I just didn't want to deal with it, which is like kind of a bummer. Like that's how stuff gets
Mhm.
really suppressed and our stories never get told. But as soon as I leaned into like the stories that I grew up hearing as a kid, like my dad would tell us stories about like the condors and like why the owl got its beak flat or like how like the chipmunk got its stripes. And like I loved those stories as a
Mm,
kid. And when I leaned into that kind of like that type of storytelling that makes me really happy, that's when my like voice started to come out. And
mm,
but that's what gets me really excited and makes me want to write. So I think just like staying true to myself is what I would say. Like you don't have to chase the trends or anything. It's
mm,
like your voice as an artist is what's important.
mm. Wow. You're gonna make me cry. You're gonna make me cry now. Oh my gosh. No, that's amazing advice because yeah. Geez, my younger self is just listening to that advice right now and being like, yeah, it's hard. It's a hard journey. Of being an artist and being in this industry that is mostly white and mostly older,
Yeah.
and you're constantly presenting as the other, and yet they don't want to see the other really,
Right.
or they want to exoticize
Exactly.
it in a different way. And
Yes.
so yeah, I think that's just like amazing advice. And I'm excited for, our American Indian Student Association to hear this, and for all the, young Native people to hear that, because it's, in any field, a lot of, in Western society, it's constantly suppressing that
Yes.
traditional ways. And it's like, no, let's embrace it and integrate it.
Yeah.
Like Spirit Rangers, y'all. Like, come
Yeah.
on. So I'm uh I'm just so excited, and I just admire your work ethic and everything you're doing with the show. It's
Thank
everything
you.
that also I want to do. It's like you're also bringing up so many people too. You're bringing up people, giving them a shot, and and it's really exciting. I'm so excited for people to see this show. And do you have an idea of when it's coming out, or do you not?
Uh,
Like,
I when Netflix keeps it under lock and key at this rate, but I
yeah,
do
yeah,
know
yeah.
it's gonna be out sometime next year. 2022 question mark.
Let's go. I'll take a 2022 question mark. That is awesome.
Exactly. It's coming out sometime next year. Oh, I can't wait
Amazing.
for it to be out in the world.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited. Yeah, I'm
Woohoo.
I'm just beyond excited for this project for so many reasons, and you're one of the biggest ones. You're just such a cool person too. Like, not only are you
Oh,
talented in all this stuff, you're just such a kind-hearted person, and I think the industry needs more people like you, like really cool showrunners that are bringing themselves to it. And so I'm just really grateful. Yeah, so
oh, thank
congratulations.
you. That means a lot to me.
Mhm.
It does. We're all out here doing our thing.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
thank you so much, Carissa. It has been an honor to talk to you. And that is it today for Indigineering.
Awesome.
And thank you so much, Karissa. And we'll talk soon. And everyone keep an eye out for Spirit Rangers in 2022 question mark. Indigineering. Is that what you said?
Indigineering,
Indigineering. Love it.
like Imagineering.
As
Yeah.
long as it's not actual engineering,
Yeah,
no help.
Oh, did you know we were gonna talk STEM?
Isn't it? Oh, yes. I'm going to fake it till I make it then.
yeah.